Welcome back to Suryadev QSC Reba's Property Matters. No matter what else I accomplish in life, I know one thing that I really want is a lovely home, especially after visiting beautiful homes like the one we just did. It would be great to put it all together and finally plan your own personal space and territory. But there's one thing that always confuses me. Do I want an apartment or an independent house? Both have their pros and cons, and I can never seem to decide. Perhaps we should visit people living in both. Living in an independent house within city limits is becoming a rarity these days. What with land and property prices skyrocketing, people find apartments far more affordable. But for those who can afford independent homes and who are used to living in one, nothing else will do.
The independent house gives a lot of advantages. For instance, a privacy. I'm working all the time outside home. When I return back in the evening, I wanted to have fully my time, a privacy, an open space, my own area where I can really do without any disturbance from others.
Yes, independent houses gives you your own private space, but apartments these days are designed to keep peeping Tom neighbors at bay. Vouching for this and various other advantages is Mr. Raghuraman, who moved into an apartment complex a few years ago after living for over 50 years in his grandfather's independent house. He says security is the biggest advantage in apartments.
This building has 3 gates and it's manned by a team of security. About 8 to 10 persons are there in both shifts, 24 hours. The cars owned by the residents have been given some stickers and they only come in. Cars without stickers are not allowed inside.
The system in place is such that from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. whenever there is a visitor, the security guard at each block stops you, checks with the resident via an intercom and only lets you in if the resident allows it. Post 8 p.m. you can enter only if you have an access card. An independent house can be made secure too, but at a cost. Either you appoint a watchman or you seek the help of technology, but the feeling of security one gets living in an apartment is far greater when compared to an independent house. Raghuraman vouches for that.
When we were in an independent house, we couldn't lock our house and go. We couldn't leave the elders and go. Now, whether you close it for 15 days, whether you close it for a month, it doesn't really matter. And parents can be there. There is adequate security. Nobody can walk in without intimating the resident. The building is day and night monitored by a force of security, which are also supervised by their own supervisors and managers. So you have a kind of mental comfort that your place is safe and secure.
And then, of course, apartment complexes give you the entire package of plumbers, gardeners, electricians, carpenters, domestic help and so on, while independent homeowners have to arrange for these themselves. And then there's the advantage of amenities too.
Amenities and facilities you can get in apartments like this, which is difficult to put into an independent house because all these things involve maintenance, which can be properly maintained at that cost only because of the economy of scale. So we have a shuttle court, we have a swimming pool, we have a pool table, we have sauna, steam bath, we have a full-fledged gym. And all these things, the maintenance cost is not much. We pay about 1 rupee 80 paise per square feet, for which all these things we get free.
But there always are bylaws that apartment residents must adhere to.
You have to subject yourself to the bylaws of the association. All apartment complexes are guided by the bylaws. And there are restrictions on use of pets, parking within your own slots, not playing music or having a party late night. Our bylaws say that pets are not allowed, but few people own pet dogs and we didn't want to be too stringent about this. So we have advised them to keep it on leash and make sure that if it litters somewhere, it has to be cleaned immediately.
And when there's people who don't follow these rules, there's trouble. No one likes an unpleasant neighbor, but a good neighbor adds so much more to apartment living.
You get into a community, you're not alone. Earlier when we were in a house, my son used to be glued to a TV or a computer. When we moved in here, he found another 10-12 boys of the same age. Now he is with his friends, his confidence levels have gone up, his communication has become better.
But then again, forming friendships with neighbors depends on how sociable you are and not where you live.
I don't think even in an apartment complex you will have a lot of friendships and with neighbors unless yourself or your neighbor is interested in. I know there are apartments where people do not talk to each other, and if at all they met, it is on the lift or on in the lobby. And we are living here in the street for more than 2 decades now. We know every house in the street.
With independent homes, you can also design and plan the layout of every square inch of your home.
Independent house gives you an opportunity to customize each room and each facility to your requirement and taste, which perhaps if you go for an apartment complex, you will never get it. What maximum an apartment complex they will do, they may remove a wall and give you a bigger room, or provide you another wall and make it 2 rooms.
Independent homes are also reflective of one's status and lifestyle.
Another disadvantage in apartment, if I can think of, is one that you don't own any defined piece of land, which is only notional and which can't be identified specifically.
Year after year, one thing that we'll certainly appreciate, should appreciate and will appreciate is the land. And if you are able to own the land now, it's the biggest asset that you are passing on to your generations down the line.
I'm still not convinced. What if there was a way to have the best of both worlds?
So we are on the seaside of Nilangare, and we wanted to live in a gated community like this because you have the comfort of having a small number of people to contend with as against an apartment complex. We wanted to live in it. You also have the security when you're living in a small gated community, and we just felt that being with a small community of people, you kind of get to know, they kind of become extended family. And I was very clear that we wanted to have a home with a garden. So you have a place like this, then you can afford to have a home with a garden. Well, we were living in an apartment complex in Adyar, and we found that the rules of the apartment said that only each flat had only an allotted parking space, so no other person could come and park their cars or in the place. So they had to park it outside. This way they're also not stressed out that their cars are parked somewhere and they have to worry about anything happening to the car.
So there you have it, apartments and independent houses. I must say I'm still a little partial towards an independent home, but these days there are so many facilities that apartment living offers. Plus, with options like villa and bungalow apartments coming in, an apartment home should be just as private. Moreover, man is a social being and can't live in isolation for too long. Precisely why I'll be expecting your company same time next week. Until then, goodbye.